You are not going to believe this, but the Detroit Tigers were shut out yet again. That's 21 times on the season now. They have been shut out a couple of times in a row. Got a heck of a scoreless inning streak going as well. This is Tigers baseball in 2022. We're going to talk about this 7-0 loss to the Houston Astros today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Thank you for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. That is, of course, including YouTube. Okay. The Detroit Tigers drop Monday night's game against the Houston Astros at home by a score of 7-0. First and foremost, I mean, like, no one was at this ball game. And I know that we haven't been even close to having a decent crowd in a while. And like, it's not like I'm just now noticing that, but this one was even like worse than usual. This was brutal. And they even had Bark at the Park was last night, right? Like they had the, bring your dog to the game. And it's like this fun thing. And it just, no one went. Nobody went to this game, and it's probably a good thing that they didn't, because the final score, as we said, was 7-0. Look, this is the 21st time the Detroit Tigers have been shut out this season, according to Jason Beck of MLB.com. That ties the 1973 Yankees and the 1976 White Sox for the most by an American League team since the inception of the designated hitter. So, not great, right? Not a surprise to anybody that that's not exactly the best thing to hear in the world. This is not new to us, though, especially, if you've been watching the games, listening to the games, and have been keeping tabs on the team this season, this is not news to you. And if you've been watching or listening to this show, you certainly this is not news to you, as we have been pretty much counting every single one. There's a lot of weird stats to go along with this. We just said the one, right, that is tied for the most since the inception of the designated hitter. I believe that this is the most in franchise history. There's a couple of people that I think have reported that. And we also have, I think Chris Castellani did the math and said that that is about 15% of all games that we have played this season, we have been shut out in. It's just crazy stat after crazy stat. Unbelievable stuff. At this point, it's not unbelievable. At this point, it's par for the course. Telling me this going into the season is unbelievable. I never would have imagined in a million years that this team, after the season we had last year and the offseason that we had and everything that we had done to prepare for this season and coming out of the lockout, it was impossible to see this coming. But it has been the worst case scenario for pretty much every single player on this team. And we're also at 21 consecutive innings without scoring a run. The last time that we scored was the fifth inning, because we only played 8 on Saturday because of the rain out, or 7.5. But we took our at-bats in the 8th on Saturday. So, and I believe we scored 4 in the 5th. So that would be back-to-back shutouts is 18, and then 8, 7, 6, right? And then 5th doesn't count. So 21, right? Math. Quick maths off the top of the head there. It's pretty remarkable stuff. Pretty remarkable stuff. 21 consecutive innings without scoring a run, 21 shutouts on the season. Here we are. In this game, they had 6 hits, and I mean, first and foremost, this is Valdez is a phenomenal pitcher. Framber is unbelievable, and this is an offense that is not unbelievable or unbelievable for the wrong reasons. And so when you pair one of the best pitchers in baseball in Framber Valdez along with this offense, this is very likely to happen. He's got a crazy consecutive quality start streak going. I think it's the most in the American League, like maybe ever. I think they were talking about. I mean, he's been unreal. And look, his sinker is phenomenal, and it's a pitch that kind of in the same breath that I talk about Alex Lang's sinker in, just in and Valdez has 80 million times the command that Alex Lang does. I'm not trying to compare them as pitchers, but just when describing that pitch, it's just he's such a swing and miss machine, and yet his primary pitch is a sinker, and that's so unique. And I think that that's why he's so effective. And like the Tigers got some hard hit balls, and this was not a Valdez masterclass performance. Well, it's tough to even say that with a straight face. He had a complete game shutout, right? But it was it it's just it's so like nitpicky, and I have no right to do that, being that I talk about the Tigers all day, I guess. But this wasn't like the best I've ever seen him. Like he was hanging quite a few curveballs, especially to Javi Baez. I some unbelievably frustrating at bats with Javi. Um, there was 2 separate times when he threw a curveball that bounced on home plate and Javi swung through it, and then he hung a curveball literally right down the middle, and Javi took him. And those are just the insanely frustrating ABs. And I mean, the average exit velocity for the Tigers in this one was 95 miles an hour. That's not bad. Like that's pretty solid. If we're just looking at average exit velocity, like those are some hard hit baseballs. We had several over 100. Torque specifically, we'll get to in a second, but like this was not he had 16 whiffs in 9 innings. That's good, right? But it's not some ungodly amount. He had 8 Ks and a walk. That's obviously very very solid as well. But like these are all good. I'm not trying to take away. This is a very good, great performance. It's a complete game shutout against a Major League Baseball team, but it's just the this team offensively is just so bad at everything. Is my point. Some games they have a million swings and misses. They can't hit anything, and then even when they do hit the ball, it's all just straight into the dirt, or it's fly balls to center field and they get under them, or it's one thing after another, and it's just no ability to hit with runners in scoring position at all. Have not had that all season. So even if we do get a double down the line to start off an inning, or hit a ball into the gap, or hit a hard hit ground ball up the middle, it's going to be 1, 2, 3 after that, right? Like we had 6 hits, 7 base runners. It's just pairing that type of pitcher, especially who it can get swings and misses, and got a ton of them with the curveball tonight. Got quite a few with the changeup, but 9 whiffs on the curveball alone. 16 total, 9 on the curveball alone for Framber. That was also the only pitch he had in his entire arsenal that had an average exit velocity under 90 miles an hour. Just a really effective pitch. But like 23 balls put in play for the Tigers, and in 9, like 15 foul balls. Like they had their opportunities. Just when it rains it pours, and that's what happens with the Detroit Tigers. And the sinker is inherently a pitch to contact pitch, and you're gonna drive it into the dirt a lot, and the Tigers certainly did that. 11 of the 23 balls put in play were off the sinker. So hitting the ball hard, but hard right into the ground, and nobody made an adjustment. Nobody was able to get under the baseball, and here we are. So let's keep talking about the offense. The only other thing I want to talk about within the offense is Spencer Torkelson. I'm kind of over everybody else. Maybe we'll see. But first, though, I got to tell you all about our friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your pro and college betting needs and sports info this season. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, including this year's opening week's games. Opening week is behind us, but the remainder of the season. BetOnline is also your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, MLB, and even golf. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, everybody. Welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Okay, the only other thing I want to talk about offensively before we move on, like you can just assume that everybody kind of was not great, and that would be a fair assumption. We already talked about Javi. Hasi had a couple of hits again. He stays hot. He's been an absolute fuego. His OPS on the season is up to 750. That's something because I mean, that's like comfortably leading the team. Gary Carpenter technically has an OPS in the 800s, I believe, still, but he doesn't have nearly, obviously, enough bats to even come close to qualifying. Eric Haas is like the only person with legitimate at bats to have an OPS over 700. Riley Green's fighting 692 hit and a walk in this one, 2Ks in the other two plate appearances. So yeah, that's it. Like Jamer didn't look good again. Man, Ryan Kreidler, some gritty at bats, like put the ball in play, but no production. Yeah, okay. So let's just get to Spencer Torkelson. This is the most fraudulent 0 for 4 I've ever seen in my life. He goes 0 for, but he was crushing the baseball. Okay, do not get it twisted. And I know we anytime I say anything positive about some certain people, like everybody's just like, oh, like at some point he's gonna have to actually produce. Like he since getting called up, his batting average is like well over 300. He's crushing the baseball with like power is there. I mean, it's really he looks noticeably different. So I'm comfortable saying this, and I don't feel like I'm just giving you some spiel about how like maybe some hope. Like I'm not trying to do that, but he has objectively been crushing the baseball since he got called up. That's objectively true. And in this game, he goes 0 for 4. Here are the average exit velocities of all 4 balls. He put all 4 in play. He had 0 strikeouts, 0 walks. Okay, so he goes 0 for 4, but all 4 of his at bats, he put the ball in play. These are the exit velocities. Okay, 106.1, 105.5, 105.4, and 107.1. He had 4 balls put in play, and the softest was 105.5 miles an hour off the bat. He is seeing the ball very well. Every single at bat, I was very impressed by how he set himself up, I guess you would say, and was patiently aggressive. That is what we're trying to get to with him. Sometimes he becomes so patient that he's passive and complacent, and that is not where you want to be. I love walks more than the next guy, but you need to be in a place where you are still being aggressive when they give you a pitch to hit. And that is exactly what he was in this game. I thought he looked phenomenal. One of the balls was 416 feet. It's just we play in Comerica Park. I mean, he really did. And the box score won't show it, and the numbers all go down, but I really don't care about this one. I really don't. Like this is a very, very good sign and a very, very good performance. And I thought, I mean, he only swung and missed once the entire game. Uh, I was very impressed. I was very impressed with Spencer Torkelson in this one. So that's the only thing I wanted to say on the offense. Was just point out, you know what, he went 0 for 4, but like it's still a really good sign, and it's a good 0 for 4, as weird as that sounds. And again, I know. I know. I'm not trying to gas something up. I'm not trying to give you false hope. I'm not trying to make it seem like September is going to be some great month. We have back-to-back shutouts, but I promise you that this game is a good sign. That's it for the offense. Let's move on to the pitching. Eduardo Rodriguez started this game. Not a good performance by Erod. I think that's back-to-back outings by Erod that have been very underwhelming. Um, Look, in this one, it was pretty much just golly. He had 7 whiffs in 5 innings, which is not a very good number. But on top of that, just like no called strikes either. 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, 5 earned runs, 10 hits in 5 innings of work for him. I think the biggest thing for him was he wasn't getting crushed as far as how hard he was getting hit. I mean, the average exit velocity on the game was 89, and while watching, you didn't see him get smoked. There were a couple. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there was I think 2 or 3 sinkers that got absolutely destroyed. But he always throws a majority of the cutter and the four seam fastball. And in this one, the cutter wasn't getting crushed, but it was getting consistently hit for solid contact every single time. He could not hit his spot with it. He's trying to nibble the outside of the zone to righties. It would get too much of the plate, and the righties would either slap it to the opposite field for like a solid hit, right? Not a blooper, like a solid line drive, just not like 100 off the bat or anything crazy. Um, that would happen, or it would be like a hard grounder up the middle. I mean, it was kind of baffling how he was not missing it by like feet, right? The command wasn't just out the window, but it was consistent. Just, I'm going to miss the glove by like 5 inches, and it's going to be catch way too much of the plate and just be a perfect ball to slap into the outfield for a nice line drive. And that was all night long. And like I said, especially with the cutter, but the four seam fastball did not do him any favors. That was also a ball that he was trying to pinpoint and couldn't. And this is a really good lineup, and this is a really good baseball team. And when you make 10 mistakes, 7, 10, 12 mistakes to a good team, it's not going to go over very well. You got to hit your spots, and even got bailed out by kind of a weird double play at one point. Just not a very good performance. And with Erod, the only thing I really want to say with him, and we'll get into the rest of the game here, but we talked about with Tyler Alexander, and we talk about all the time, like barrel missing guy. And when he's missing barrels, he's actually kind of effective, but when he hasn't been missing barrels lately. And when he's not effective. Erod is a guy who in Boston was fantastic. He was spectacular at missing barrels. Was never going to have a ton of swing and miss stuff. Never has had a ton of swing and miss stuff, but consistently for his entire Red Sox tenure would put on master classes of missing barrels. And the ball got put in play, and he's going to get BABIP sometimes, and that's just going to happen because he's a barrel missing first pitcher. But in the same breath that I say with Tyler Alexander, when he does not have his best command and when he is not missing barrels, he is going to get hit for a lot of line drives, and he is going to get hit all over the yard. I still believe that he'll be fine. This has been a really weird year for him, and I mean for this team, but especially for him. And I think the offseason will be good for him, and we'll see where he's at next season. I never believed in the notion that we brought him in to be the ace of this team. Like for when, I didn't ever believe like, oh, Erod is going to be the ace of a World Series winning Tigers team. And we didn't pay him like an ace of a World Series team. But because it was just the first contract of even remote value that we gave out to anybody, people were like, oh, well, he's getting paid more than anybody else in the rotation. He's got to be the ace when we're good again. It's not really how it works. But I do think that there is still a very solid number 2 or number 3 starting pitcher in a rotation for within him, and I still think that that's possible to get out of him going forward. But this year has just been so weird that it's really hard to even analyze him on a start to start basis because it's like I mean we've seen some good even since coming back we've seen some good, but I mean we've also seen some not so good. But he went 3 months without pitching, so like I don't know. We'll see what we got next year with him. Um, Sign him to not a 1 year deal. So we'll see what we get for the rest of them. But heck of a start to the first year of all these guys that we brought in. Um, Heck of a start. What a year, man. Golly. All right, let's get into the rest of the game and whatnot, bullpen, etc. right after this. All right, everybody. Welcome back here to our third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Thank you for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Okay, so let's go to the bullpen because there's some pretty, I don't know how noteworthy anything can be really at this point in the season, but some stuff I want to highlight and talk about still. Um, Jason Foley pitched in this one. We all know my love for Jason Foley. That sinker was looking great. Yeah, I loved it. I thought he was fantastic. Um, and I continue to think that there's a real possibility that he can be a really solid reliever in this bullpen going forward. I'm really excited about the future of Jason Foley. ERA down to 3.19. He had 1 inning of work with no other counting stats to speak of. And yeah, I just continue to be impressed. I love watching him pitch. Like I love seeing him go out there, and he hasn't been a guy that has gotten a ton of limelight, I guess you would say, in this bullpen. Like there's a lot of other relievers that have gotten a lot more of a look and have gotten a lot more attention, but he has been unbelievably solid. And I really like Jason Foley a lot. I love his that sinker slider mix. All about command with him, like it is with so many other people. We're gonna save Garrett Hill for last, actually. So we're gonna go Will Vest. Got the final inning of work, 1 inning, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 1K. I continue to have reservations about Will Vest. That's Man, like once an episode, my nose just gets super itchy. I don't know why, but you guys probably noticed like once an episode, I don't know where it comes from or what, but sorry. Will Vest, I continue to have reservations about him going forward. 3.9 ERA now on the season after this one. You know, in the first half of the season, he was like the hot new thing, right? Everybody was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like Will Vest, he had that save in Baltimore or in Comerica against Baltimore, and he was like the thing. He had a sub 2 ERA, like multiple months into the season, and then some cracks started to show. We started having some command problems. Then people were surprised when he was optioned, and he came right back because we started having a ton of injuries and stuff. So he barely spent any time down in Toledo. But people were surprised when he was optioned, and I never was. Like he has pretty I don't want to say significant. That might be too dramatic, but he has some pretty apparent command stuff that he still got to iron out. Like some pretty apparent, like blatant command problems, especially with the slider. I mean his breaking stuff really like can get away from him at times and really just be completely not effective, or in the sense that like he threw the slider 9 times in this game. Okay, 9 times. 2 of those 9 were barreled, right? The 2 times it was put in play, 97.8 off the bat and 103.2 off the bat. Smoked. Okay, that's a barrel, over 95 miles an hour. One time it was fouled off. And then we have one called strike. One called strike. Just lot of balls being thrown, a lot of spiking the ball into the dirt or hanging it too high and getting smoked. Really needs to hone in and get some consistent command with the slider. And then the 4-seam fastball wasn't uber effective in this one. And he has a good fastball. It's like it's got like good movement. I like the tail. 94, 95, 96. Like it's a good pitch, but there's just a lot of command stuff that he still needs to work out. And will be very intrigued and keeping an eye out for sure on what what offseason he's going to have with the team, what the plan is for him going forward, and how where he is going to fit with the future plans of this team. Because again, this is a guy that at one point in full health with the bullpen and with him having full health got optioned. And then when the bullpen got hurt again, he came back up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But his ERA is already creeping back up to 4. Garrett Hill's what we're going to end on. 2 innings, no hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. The notable thing with Garrett Hill, and this was pointed out by Regilio Castillo, great human being and great show that he run Tiger Minor League Report, him and Chris Brown. They also do Woodward Tigers. But Raj pointed out that him and Chris Brown both, I guess I don't know which one is the first person that found it, but he tweeted it out. Garrett Hill went over the head with his delivery, and his velocity was way up, and it was just a fascinating thing to watch. He went kind of like the old timey, like back and over. And Raj points out that it's kind of looks similar to what Ty Madden's doing down there in the minor leagues, but his season average 4-seam fastball, he was way up, like over 3 miles an hour faster than what we are used to with his 4-seam fastball and with his sinker. And then we were about 1.5 miles faster with his slider and his changeup. We were way up. His average pitch velocity on his 4-seam fastball in this one was just over 94.5 miles an hour. His year average, according to Baseball Savant, is 91.3. The sinker, the season average was 91.4, and in this one, he averaged 95 miles an hour. The slider was up, like I said, over 1 mile an hour. The changeup was up 1.5 miles a mile an hour and a half, 1.5 miles an hour. It's just it was very noticeable. Like right away, you were like, whoa, like that looks a little different. And then he proceeded to throw gas, and you were like, okay, this is really cool. So I don't know if that's a part in development where, okay, he's a reliever now. So because he's getting more look as a reliever than a starter, like they're just telling him to kind of throw harder, or if it has to do with the mechanics and the delivery or what. But it was very noticeable, and he was sensational. Sensational might be really dramatic for like 2 innings of shutout ball, but he was fantastic. He was very, very solid. I was very impressed with what I saw from him. So I think that's it. I think that's all I got, man. Just a rough season, a really rough season, and I'm not sure what the rest of September is going to look like, but I can't imagine it's going to be much better than what we get. Like this is just how it goes, right? Like we scored 18 runnings and 18 runs. I just combined the words run and inning there. We have 18 runs in 2 games over the weekend, and then we haven't scored a run since. Like this is just how it goes. This is just how it goes. So thank you for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every day. Greatly appreciate it. Our numbers have been fantastic still, even throughout the season that we've had, and I couldn't be more appreciative of y'all. So thank you very much. I still love doing this. I still enjoy it more than anything on the planet, and you guys are the reason why. So thank you. For your next listen, check out the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and his unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories from around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just like us. That's really all I got. Tough year. Tough year. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Houston Astros again. We'll see what's up. It's cool to see JV in the dugout. He's not pitching, but it's cool to see him in the dugout. All right. Peace and love. Going to Derby's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.